Why are you here today? I don't mean that in like the cosmic, why are we all here? But more like, why did you come to Creative Mornings? Why did you choose to get up this morning and come to interact with other creatives? I'd argue that it's because each and every one of you, of one stripe or another, you have what I like to call creative fingerprint. And I think that fits really well with the theme of touch that we've got going on. By the way, I'd illustrated ourselves as birds because so different stripes, different flocks, different songs. I just thought it was kind of cute. So, who am I? My creative fingerprint. I don't know what it is, but my best friend once told me that she could spot my work from a mile away. She doesn't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But this is some stuff I've worked on, and the more of my personal unknown creative fingerprint I can put on work, the better. I love it. Why are we here? So creative artificial intelligence is something that is new and emerging, and some of you may know exactly what I'm talking about, and some of you may have no idea. So we're here to talk about it and figure out where we're going to be fine. So just also, before I get into it too much, artificial intelligence, I'm not here to preach the evils of this. It has a ton of applications. It's definitely part of our future, and we already use it on a day-to-day basis. So it's going to be good for us. We are going to use artificial intelligence for medicine. We already use it for voice assistance and possibly self-driving cars in the future. Pretty exciting. So what are we going to cover? We're going to cover, what exactly is it? AI in the creative field, what does that mean? Number 2, how does it work? Is it a threat to creatives? And spoiler, we're all going to be just fine. We're okay. So artificial intelligence is basically a way of programming something that can think and make decisions like a human being. I started to become aware of the emergence of AI in the creative field with this amazing blog called AI Weirdness, written by a lady named Janella. And what she would do is she would feed data sets into a machine and see if it could come up with a creative new object based on the prompt. So the first one she did that I read was at cereal brands. She fed, tens of thousands of cereal brands into a machine. Can it come up with something new? First up, we've got foam squares. Delicious. The second one, carbonated waffle balls. My favorite part of that is that it's non-stick. It's good job, AI. It's good. And then she tried to get it to do other stuff. So, there's a bunch of pigeon breeds out there. Can it come up with any type of pigeon? We got these guys.
Mostly.
Pretty good. My personal favorite is the most need-telling pigeon. It's kind of horrifying, but I love it. And then AI, from that point on, besides just feeding it into a machine and getting these text outputs. By the way, I love that she put her creative fingerprint back on it by illustrating these. I think that's wonderful. But then things start to change. A bunch of you may have noticed, a couple of months ago, maybe a year or two ago, we started finding these apps that could do image generation. And they were in their infancy when they first came out. And my friend and I, we actually enjoyed playing with these quite a bit. You put in a bunch of prompts and it would chew through it, and the AI would try and spit something out for you. And it was mostly just an acid trip. Like you can kind of see stuff. Like there's teeth and eyes, and it's just, it's weird. There's some dolly stuff going on here. But this wasn't a threat. This was kind of fun. We played with it for a day or two, and then we kind of got bored. But then, across my social media feeds, I was starting to see this was getting more sophisticated. I was starting to see artwork and things that looked like photos come across my feed that resembled something made by a person. But they were still kind of fumbling around, like the images were exactly perfect. Case in point, stuff like this. I think you can tell what they were probably aiming for. It's kind of goofy. At this point, it's still funny. It's kind of freaky, but this is actually starting to feel a little bit more like a threat at this point. Like, this is getting closer. Photographs too. I'll have a look. I like horror a little bit. It became kind of, but even photography was starting to get closer. But as you could tell, the hands. That currently, by the way, that's how you can tell something is generally AI generated. Is the hands are never quite right. Case in point, I love it from afar. Like for a half second, you think you know what you're looking at, and then you realize how wrong it is. But yeah, it's okay. I am also terrible at drawing hands, so I will give some credit to the AI for trying. But yeah, and then things kept getting better. I was starting to see work that was becoming more and more close to the real thing. And that was starting to feel weird. I was starting to have feelings about this because the personal touch that I personally put onto my work, my creative fingerprint, is so close to my core as an illustrator, as a designer. And suddenly stuff was starting to show up that was not just threatening what I had as a career, but threatening what felt like to be my core. And I wasn't alone. There was, we were sort of all doing our thing, and we were watching this, in the background, this AI, this creative AI go from a novelty to absolutely sprinting. And that was kind of, it was a little distressing. But I kind of want to open the question to the crowd at this. Based on everything I've told you, how do you feel about where this is going? I'd like to see a show of hands of people who feel excited by this technology. Yes, come on. How many people feel bored by this or ambivalent or not threatened by this? How many people are scared by this as a creative? Yeah. Okay. So basically the way this works is that, I saw this stuff starting to emerge and it was starting to creep me out. And I was like, oh my God, it's like a magic wish dish. The stuff you get punched up in and art comes out. But then a friend of mine, my friend Sam, she's a local writer, a Polish author, and she was using one of these programs to create images for herself to visualize the characters that she was writing. And she told me, she said, it's weird. There's signatures showing up in the corner of these images I'm generating. And then we got talking and we figured out that the reason the signatures are showing up was because it's not magic. These bots, these machines, these AI, they scrape data. Basically every piece of art you can find on the internet, every photo, everything you can find, your artwork, your photos of your kids, it's all been scooped up. And it's punched into a machine. And that's what the signatures were showing up, is it was the ghost of the original artist showing up. So, yeah, this is my illustration of it. But yeah, it was scary. It was scary stuff. Once we figured out how it worked, it was like, God, where's this going? Whoops, I'm missing a slide. That's okay. I panicked. Yeah, I absolutely lost it in my mind. I was scared, absolutely shitless. I couldn't sleep. All I could think about. Yeah, it wasn't great. So I decided to ask people within the circle. I said, I ran a survey. I realized it's biased, like I'm not a statistician, but I was asking creatives. I said, as a creative, the emergence of creative artificial intelligence, like, how does it make you feel? And much like the crowd here, I saw a very similar number. We had 40-some-odd% say they were ambivalent. I had 4% saying they found it genuinely exciting and promising. And then I had 52.5% saying it scares me. Yeah, and again, I was in that camp. I absolutely lost my mind. So I reached out to a friend of mine. And I said, he was the one who voted that he was ambivalent. He was bored by this. And I was like, how can you not be panicking about this? Like, how can you be so calm? You are creative. And this is what he said. He said, I don't think it's worth much. A machine creating art feels like it's defeating the purpose of creation. And I had to sit with that one because it really pulled into question, or rather brought to light, why we as creative things need to be. There's a reason behind it. It's not always just the end piece, it's the journey of it. And to have something as creative artificial intelligence is kind of oxymoronic. So we're going to be okay, I promise. I'm sorry if I scared anybody. And we have two reasons we're going to be okay. Number one being the legal reason we're going to be okay. And number two being the very human reason. So the human reason that Creative Fingerprint touch the full reasons we're here. Why we're going to define, I promise. Quick legal thing. We've been here before. There was back in the 40s, there was a problem with basically commercial records were being sold and readily available, and artists were no longer getting airtime, live airtime to play on the radio. They were being replaced by their own recordings, which were being played essentially for free. So that had a huge change. The radios actually went silent. There was a union ban, and in the end, they ended up getting proper royalty payments for their work. Currently, as it stands, you cannot profit from AI music trained on copyrighted work. There's several class action lawsuits ongoing currently, which you can find online, in regards to DMCA violations, copyright violations, all that fun stuff. And lastly, any AI artwork cannot be copyrighted. Anything produced by these machines, if a company chooses to use it, they forfeit all protection. So that's good news for us. It means that if we're still here, we're still the most valuable thing. Also, I love this. The higher ups, like the biggest industry creatives we've got, like Yelphoto and Miyazaki, they are super against this shit because as it stands currently, it kind of runs in a crappy way. But I love this one. This is he's in acquisitions for a huge comic book company. And he said, you know, if you submit AI work and you claim it's your own, that you claim it's your own creative favorite, no blackball you from the industry completely. So, I mean, I think that says quite a bit. So, I mean, what does this mean for us, though? Because this technology, as it is right now, the way it functions, the way it works, it can't be uninvented. It's here. We're not sure how the courts are going to land. We're not sure where, the new laws and boundaries will be. I'm really hoping they're in our favor, but we're not sure. So, what does this mean for the future? How could this possibly be integrated into what we do? I read something really interesting the other day, and I'm going to share it with you because this is really future-y to me, but it's kind of neat. So maybe we start integrating these programs in such a way that legally mimics our creative fingerprint, and we get compensated for it. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, for example, a company wants to hire me. They like my style. They like Beford's, and they want 500 pieces, 500 illustrations, and that isn't something I can do. A company, potentially, could purchase legally my creative fingerprint, a creative AI package that I've put together to sell, that they then use to mix and match and produce work that looks like mine, and I get credit for it and compensation for it. That's a really weird future. I don't know if I like that, but it's a potential. All right, so the human reason we're going to be okay. So I had to think hard about this part, and it actually brings me a lot of calm in the face of all this change. My favorite one being that human beings, we are tragically difficult to entertain for a while. We get bored so fast. There's a reason we don't line up for iPhones anymore. Technology, anything that is magic at the start, there's like a ramp up of excitement and use, and then we plateau. So yeah, I think this shit's kind of going to get boring after a while. If it keeps running rampant and it's just the easy button to make stuff, we're going to get bored. Number two, going back to human touch, human fingerprint. We have the those magic devices in our pockets. You can pull any piece of artwork pretty much ever made. You could view it on your phone in 4K definition. It cannot hold a candle to the real thing. Museums still exist. We still pay with our time and money and travel long distances to see the real thing. And I think that's awesome. There's a connection there, right? There's a touch. We want to know about the piece itself, and we want to feel more about, who made it and how they made it. We want to see those fingerprints and those paintbrush strokes. Music. Music is awesome. I had a Spotify account with God knows how much music, more music I could listen to in my lifetime. Easy access, high quality. But my favorite thing about it is that as we go on and we have all this infinite access to music, vinyl records are on the rise. We like that tangible, we like being able to hold something. We like slow music now without the randomize button. Also, my headphones that I just got, my favorite thing is that it has a mode on it to degrade the sound so it sounds like it's alive and in you. I think that's great. And I think that's just testament to how much we crave the real, right? Uh, and yeah, we'll always go to live music venues. Thank you for laughing at my easels right now. Yeah, and then the last one, a good example, is the rise of indie games and indie movies. We're in an age now where CG is incredible. Like, think of Avatar 2, all that jazz, AAA games, the best graphics out there. And yet, there's a huge resurgence of the indie. There's huge resurgence of games and movies that have a really distinct human fingerprint on it. We know who made it. It feels homemade, and we love that. There's also the drive. Thank you for that. I tried to put as many bird jokes as I could. There's this huge resurgence there's this rise of one of my favorite things called analog horror. You know, we've gone from the highest graphics possible, and then there's huge rise of movies and films and short stories that look like they're filmed on VHS, like they're meant to look like they're from 1993. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's great. So, based on everything I've talked about and everything you've learned today and everything we got over, I kind of want to pull it back to the initial question that I had at the beginning of why are you here? Why are you here? What is your creative core? Whether you are a poet, you are a wonderful musician, you illustrate. I want you to think about that and remind yourself why you ever got into this in the first place. Because technology changes and technology advances, and we've been here so many times before, as I've covered, and we're always okay. We always turn out all right. So I also drew the rest of the birds. I have a little homework for you, and this is something that helped me in the face of change. I want you to go home tonight or after this talk, and I'd love for you to make something that is distinctly you. It has your fingerprint all over it, your distinct creative core, whatever it is you want to make. I'd love for you to create something and remind yourself why you ever got into a creative field in the first place. And make it for yourself as a reminder. Or alternatively, we have a ton of hashtags if you would love to share. I would personally love to see it. I think that'd be really cool. And so I leave you with a quote that I love. So this has been making the rounds, but I think it's really important to remind ourselves with. So it says, we don't need AI to make art. We need AI to write the emails, clean the house, deliver the groceries, so that we, as humans, can make more space to make art.
I can start us off. We were talking about how AI steals, essentially. But as creators, we often get into the industry by copying. We develop our own styles by pretty much stealing from other designers and artists and what have you. What's the difference?
Yeah, that's a hot question. So I've heard this argument a few times. There's a huge difference, I think, between a human being learning to find their voice versus a machine that only knows how to copy without description. As creatives, all of us here, we sound like a lot of other people before we find our own voices. We mimic, we try things out, and eventually it helps us to find who we are. And I think that's really beautiful. The argument for image generation currently, as it stands again, these things that are just like indiscriminate amounts of scraping, is that there's no intention there. There's no intention, there's no love of learning. It's just about efficiency. And I think if we, as creatives, start relying on this stuff a little too much, I think you rob yourself from, the opportunity to find your own voice, to find your own creative path. So I'd say that's a major difference. It's basically, again, the human fingerprint. It's what makes us us with attention and love.
We have a question back here.
Alicia got me so excited I knocked over my coffee. Hi, I'm Jen.
Hi.
So I have two quick questions, I think. Maybe domains of inquiry, actually. So the first one, I'm curious, at the end where you put the quote, I'm curious if you start to imagine a future where actually the thoughts are our friends. So I like that we mix and match, but like I'm curious about that. Because I actually think that also helps us step into the future and be more integrative. And then the second one I'm very curious about that comes up a lot of work here at Lake Baby Arts, and I run Innovation Pledge. And a lot of people are worried about the ethics. So I'm curious, like, if you touch on a couple of those from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. Move. So the first one, like bots being friends. So I will admit that I'm a little bit of a Luddite. I have a hard time picking up new tech because I like that question. Yeah, I think for sure. I think that Pandora's box is definitely open. Again, this stuff can't be uninvented. How we integrate it in the future is yet to be seen. But yeah, I could see it being positive for sure. I mean, I remember back when I first started in my graphic design career, Photoshop had come out with an intelligent way of filling in space, content aware fill. And when it showed up, I was like, this is the end of me. I just graduated from school and I spent, ages learning how to do this by hand. And oh my God, now people could just do it at the click of a button. And I was working with a guy named Mike. He just went, it's gonna be fine. Like, this isn't gonna change day. Like, you need to calm down. And I had to think back on that because I'm like, yes, this tech is new and scary, but it's going to be integrated in positive ways. I don't know how it's going to change the creative field. But I'm really hoping that, collectively here, we're all here for a reason. We'll make it good. We'll make it work for us. It was a tangible. Second question. Ethics. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I definitely am in the camp that says that this currently as it functions, like the journey and all that, absolutely unethical. Everybody's work was hoovered up into this machine without, we didn't get consent for that. We didn't agree to let our work train it. I know my work's in there. And that's really painful when you think that people are profiting off of that. So yeah, that for sure. And also ethically, the stuff that it punches out is super biased in terms of like beauty standards and stuff. It's kind of gross. So yeah, I agree. There's issues.
Thanks very much, Tisha. Really enjoyed it and really appreciate your hopeful take on AI. In the three categories you mentioned, I felt I didn't really fall into any of them. I feel more disturbed by it than anything else. And I guess I recognize the applications, but for example, on the legal side, I don't see how it can possibly be enforced effectively. And if there are laws, it almost seems to me you'd need AI to enforce it effectively, in a sense. And then you're going to have jurisdictional questions as well about uniformity around the world. But anyway, the big question, the big disturbing thing that comes up for me is that it really seems to begin to, depending on the application, impinge on human free will in terms of decision making. And maybe we see that a little less in the creative process, but not really. I think it's there. So I wonder if that's something that's come up in the discussion, which I haven't really been following, but if you've got any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Free will, that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could speak to the free will part. But I think it's totally valid to feel disturbed by this. I think it's valid to feel like it's violating in a lot of ways, especially if it's starting off with your work. But yeah, just to repeat, like legally moving forward, the stuff, we have yet to see where it's going to go. We don't know where those new guardrails are going to fall. But I'm optimistic that things will go where we have tons of people fighting for us. We've got every major creative leader out there. Like I mentioned, El Toro and Hayao Miyazaki and all these great directors are super against this shit. And for a while, people were jokingly feeding Disney into these machines so that Disney would emerge to shut it down. And make no mistake, they probably wouldn't use it for some other applications, but they don't want their work stolen. So yeah, it is disturbing. We're in a weird transitional phase, but keep hopeful that you have more creatives on your side and there are tech bros.